Queer News Tonight returns from Europe, and we are trying to make sense of Trump voters. An article written by Michael Jensen, an author, editor, travel blogger, and columnist for LGBTQ Nation, talks about Trump voters. The article narrates that as he stood on the deck of a cruise ship in Portland, England, he found himself bonding with a fellow passenger over photography, despite their political differences. Bob, a slender older man from Arizona, struck up a conversation after both fumbled their attempts to capture a ceremonial cannon shot. As they discussed the cruise, the conversation turned to politics. Michael, a Seattle native, was surprised when Bob, a former Trump voter, expressed regret over his past choices, citing January 6th as his breaking point. Although Bob hadn't fully decided to support Kamala Harris, the conversation revealed a shared frustration with Trump's rhetoric and the country's divisive politics. Michael reflected on the importance of finding common ground and learning to coexist. Despite their differing political views, Bob was clearly a good person, reminding Michael that in the end, unity might just be possible. We at Queer News Tonight have just returned from Europe, and we have witnessed similar views about Trump from those we visited at Munich's Oktoberfest and across Alpine Europe. And I had one of those experiences. It's interesting to be out of the country. Like, when you're in the U.S. and you leave to another U.S. state and you talk about Florida, people are usually like, oh, Florida. Okay, imagine that quadrupled when you go to another country. Internationally, we think that we're just in a bubble and all our craziness is just staying here. The whole entire world knows about everything going on here. I spoke to someone in Austria and they were like, they're eating cats and dogs? What is going on? Like, I was so taken aback by the fact that these people knew everything that was going on all the trauma that we had dealt with Trump over the last 8 years. So it's interesting to just get their perspective, and it was a mix of people. I also met some Bavarian folk that were saying, we don't want Kamala to win, and I hope that she doesn't win, but it definitely is striking when you just see how we are under the microscope everywhere, especially internationally.
Because what happens here affects the rest of the globe. And the thing about Austria is they have recently made this sort of move to the right. There's this sort of right wing that is rising there all across Europe, but Austria especially.
It's across the world because the world is smaller now, and it's easier to
social media
to spread out your rhetoric and everything else. And going back to what you say, Faye, we as Floridians, we're the laughingstock. And now, for the last 8 years, the United States is kind of like, hey, what's going on? Well, are you going to get your shit together? And things like that, because, and then all the rhetoric, all the crazy stuff, and then that behavior is being mimicked, unfortunately.
Oh my God, you're right. You're right when you think of it.
Yeah, the bad behavior is mimicking each other. So that's why the analogy of the world is it's getting smaller and smaller. And scary sometimes.
And scary.
And it's, the fact that we're the laughingstock of the U.S. here in Florida, the one that's it transfers to the rest of the world, that's really kind of depressing. But I have to say that globe-trotting Michael Jensen and his author husband, Brent Hartinger, are friends of mine. And we should be grateful for his insightful reporting. He's a good man, a good writer, so it's good to hear him writing about this and talking about this.
And how interesting the times that we're in, that we meet new people and we're kind of like, oh, let's not talk about politics because we don't want to go there. You're having a good rapport with someone, and then, at least I can only speak for me as a brown lesbian, I'll meet somebody new and I'm like, they're white, they're going to be a Trumper, I'm afraid of what they're going to say, and that's the world.
You can't make that assumption. You can't make an assumption. I have my brother who lives out in Coral Springs, and he calls black Trumpers black rednecks. I'm just saying, black Trumpers. So political ideology is not just limited to skin color. But I totally get it. Totally get what you're saying.
You're absolutely
you're making
right.
that assumption, but it's just like it's just that rhetoric. It doesn't matter. It crosses skin boundaries, states, countries. Stupidity is powerful.
Stupidity is powerful.
Stupidity is powerful. So contagious. So just be careful.
I was worse than COVID.
I was really struck, by the article itself. With just by this man, trying to, striking a conversation with a stranger and just finding that commonality, and then coming across that we have different political views, and so. You can definitely take the opportunity to understand, what it is about this person that, differs, to the other side. So, it's good to have those type of healthy, engaging dialogues. You know, it's too bad we don't get that enough.
Yeah,
but, you
yeah,
know,
we should. Yeah.
But you know, he's capturing something. Is that sometimes we just need to sit and listen.
Yeah.
Just what the other people have to say. And sometimes, you know, we come at it sometimes as it's in a personal. At least for me, I feel like it's in a personal attack on my own views as this LGBTQ plus person.
Yeah.
So you know, I sometimes have to realize people are not coming at me like that.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, and again, going back to the story, it kind of gives me a little bit of hope because we're constantly seeing Trumpers being vigilant, right? And, you know, cognitive dissonance is a real thing, you know? And then you talk to somebody who says, hey, January 6th changed something. I could no longer continue to vote for someone like this. That gives me hope that there's others like that person, right? So I'll take it.
Yeah.